It's been about a year since I last participated in a game jam. It's time to sharpen my game dev skills and improve on, I think by far my favorite jam game that I've ever made. But first, do you want to learn how to make your own games and be able to tell your parents you're going to college? Then let me tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Southern New Hampshire University. SNHU has one of the largest accredited nonprofit online degree offerings in the country. In this program, you'll learn how to create realistic, dynamic gameplay experiences with AI, physics, 2D and 3D graphics, and user interface design. You'll also learn programming languages like C++, C#, and Java. And you'll learn 3D modeling and texturing with modern game art software. Courses are taught by faculty with real-world experience who will teach you how to research, develop, and contribute to advances and trends within the field of game programming. SNHU is radically affordable. Their online tuition rates are some of the lowest in the nation. Go to snhu.edu/eedit, that's edit with 2 E's, also linked in the description, to see what the current average annual salary is for a programmer and request free information about the program. Okay, back to game dev. I'm just getting myself organized right now. Here are the quick wins that I want to get out of the way first. The jam started on a Friday and the timer was set for 9 days, so I'm kind of taking it easy for these first few days to more or less stick to the 7-day jam idea. Just doing some kind of prep work, I'm looking at how I can change the explosion forced fall off to be an exponential curve rather than just linear, so it can be a little juicier and have less moments where it feels like your rocket is done. I also just moved this HUD thing out of the way since that only takes a few seconds and it makes a big difference. The next night I had some more time, so I continued investigating the exponential fall-off thing and ended up discovering that it was actually 2 different factors that caused some rockets to feel like a dud. Yes, the linear fall-off, but also each rocket is applying what seems like a random amount of force. I didn't code any randomness, so something is wrong there. Here I'm adding debug lines for every possible variable related to explosion force because I cannot figure out what the heck is going on. I lost a day to some non-game dev work, so suddenly we're on to day 3. So it's been 4 days since the official start of the jam. By now, I am just about done finishing what I classified as quick wins. Since I haven't worked on this game since last year's event, and especially because I made it in a hurry, I had to refamiliarize myself with how everything was programmed and fix some honestly kind of embarrassing bugs. Like, how did I not notice how inconsistent your rocket jump height is? And nobody even seemed to mention this in the comments of the game. Also, there was this problem with triggering the eyeball stomp damage deal effects like 10 times in a row in the span of a second. I just forgot to reset the cooldown each time that you jumped, so it basically did nothing. Whoops. Now that I've detangled this mess, I feel much more confident in moving on to some new ideas and actually making this more interesting than last year's game jam. That's where I am now. So next time I talk to you, I will have finished these quick wins and I might be testing out some new ideas. Yep, I did a bit more code organizing and got a new HUD display so I can see the distance from the lava and your actual height at the same time. One cool unintended benefit I noticed was now I can tell a little bit more concretely where the lava actually is compared to just looking at it. Especially like when it's below the grate at the start of the game, it's hard to tell when exactly it starts moving. Now I can tell right away because the number starts changing. This brought me back to an idea I had a while ago but forgot to put on my new ideas list, which is a visual HUD, kind of like one of those compass scrolly things in PUBG and a lot of other shooters, but vertical. That way you could visually see when the lava is creeping up on you, and I could communicate any other kind of upcoming changes like where their personal best is, and integration with some new ideas I have, like various stages. I'll talk more about the stage idea later, but for now I actually want to try and implement this minimap.
20 minutes later.
Quick update, so I started on the minimap idea and got a basic system for putting fixed points on the minimap that I implement as scriptable objects. So right now I can input an icon color, the height of the waypoint, and a name, and the minimap loads them up and plots them where they should be. I still have some work to do to get moving icons for the lava and player working, and I also want to smoothly keep the player within the range of the minimap. But yeah, now I have the foundation done, so all I have to do is make it more better.
What else didn't be?
I'm making really good progress. I decided to tackle moving minimap waypoints next, so I basically just made the scriptable object search for a game object in the scene by its name. And then any call to get height on that dynamic waypoint will actually get the live Y position of the object based on that transform. It's still super basic, but this is pretty much how I imagined it working, and I'm pretty happy with it so far. For now, when it leaves the range of the minimap, it just disappears. So next I'll be adding sticky waypoint support, which will switch to a number display. It's the next morning, and although I feel like I can get the minimap done today, I'm seeing a little risk of finishing the jam without any actually significant gameplay changes, which would just be kind of disappointing, especially now that this number says 2 days left. Okay, so speedrunning finishing the minimap. I want to adjust the range of Y space that the minimap shows a view of each frame for some amount of meters above and below the player, so you're always at the center of the map and can see upcoming changes or lava creeping up below you. I did exactly that, and it works. Playing the game again, it looks pretty cool to be able to see the position of points relative to the player, and I think it gives a lot more visibility into what's going on in the game, especially when you're too focused on blowing up eyeballs with a rocket launcher. The only thing that seems off to me now is that when lava, a sticky waypoint, goes off the screen, it's listing the absolute Y position of the lava. It seems like now that I'm centering the minimap on the player, it would make sense to show relative positions, indicating that the lava is X meters below you, not at X height. So, plan of action. I'm going to update the sticky points to show relative positions. I'm going to scale up the minimap to take up a good bit more of the screen. I'm going to remove the distance from lava on the HUD, since that's what the sticky minimap thing is for, and then move on to tackling a more impactful new idea. Took a little more work than expected to size the HUD up, but we're good now. In the meantime, I thought a little bit more about how I'm going to implement stages. I want to make a system where I can configure a set of variables for the game that will happen at various distances away from the lava. Right now, the game constantly spawns these eyeball enemies at the same rate no matter how high you climb. But say for example, you're 50 meters away from the lava now, and you look up and see that the style of wall has now changed. And the enemy spawner is now pulling from a different pool of enemies, giving you some bats and eyeballs. And the player is annoyed. They can't handle it. And they're now 10 meters from the lava. Now that you've fallen well below that 50 meter threshold, so the stage goes back to the original. This has some really cool advantages, like the difficulty kind of self-regulating, since if you struggle to gain distance and the lava catches up, the game gets easier again. At least that's how I'm hoping it'll feel. That's easier said than done. There's now 1 day left, so I really hope that I can get this system in and set up and try to scrap together at least a couple of stages of progression, even if it's just eyeball spawning less often in those stages. If I have that system in, I can start messing with it. Alright, see you soon. Quick update for you guys. So we now have the stage manager here. Doesn't look like much, but it is pulling in at the beginning of the game all scriptable objects from this stages folder. Right now we have default, which starts at 0, has enemy prefabs, but that doesn't actually do anything yet. So I also set up, as a concept, this green one, just called green, starts at 50, and it has green walls. So now if I play the game, hopefully I can see the system in action. Now remember, the start height, actually I should rename it because it's not actually a start height, it's distance from lava that it's looking at. Now we can actually see our distance from lava in the bottom left. It's outside of the view of the minimap. So once that gets to 50, we should see in our console in the bottom right, it should say new current stage 1. And it says that since we're above 50 now, so I might drop down a little bit just to collect a couple more rockets. Hopefully don't drop too far below. Now we can see there's actually green walls up there, which is kind of cool visual to notice. I'm just going to continue my way up there. So now is when I would want the enemy spawning logic to change, since technically I'm in this green zone, so I'm on stage 1. Now I'm still above 50 meters above the lava, so it's just going to be, it's going to continue to be green no matter how high I climb. If I were to slow my ascent though, and sort of let the lava catch up to me, you would see the stage drop back down and the walls that would appear would start being gray. I'm just about done working on the game for the day, so I'll just have tomorrow, and then tomorrow evening I'll have to submit it. I'm feeling so about the updates at this point, just because nothing really seems too different to me, but everything I've added I think was worthwhile aside from investing a little too much time in that minimap when there's not much to show on it. Since I just have one day left, I'm going to carefully scope out exactly what I want to accomplish tomorrow so I can make sure I get it done and have enough time to submit. Plan is, I'm going to make 2 nice stage environments. One is going to be similar to the default brick wall, but with some masonry and torches. And then the other stage, mossy brick, so you can at least see that it's different than the default style. I also decided, just as a fun bit, that I have a sound effect that I want to record, so I'm going to do that and implement it. And if I have extra time, I want to do some kind of like fiery closing in of the screen as you touch the lava to make it a little bit more obvious that you're about to lose. Alright, let's see what I accomplish tomorrow. It's now the final day of the jam, and I just spent a little bit of time making this alternate style of environment with spots for torches. I tested it out, and unfortunately you can actually stand in these little indents that I've made. But I think I'm going to set the collider back to the same one as the default area, so the change is only visual. Alright, I fixed that, and I managed to get both new environments in. They don't change the enemy spawn rates quite yet. I just wanted to see visually like where the environment would change, if it dips back a stage and comes back often, like how that kind of feels. To be honest, having played it, it's pretty amazing. The well generator works like one step ahead of the player to make sure there's always more level, and the stage manager is constantly keeping track of that distance from the lava and setting your stage accordingly. Right now, I see no problem just assigning different eyeball spawn rates to each of those stages and calling it a day. Also, I don't know if you noticed this, but it seems like the higher that I climb, the faster the eyeballs are headed upwards. It's kind of a cool effect just for the creepiness factor, but I'm not sure I want it in the game. Alright, so I built the game out with varying enemy spawn times per stage. I just guessed on the settings for the spawn times. I didn't touch the maximum spawn at all, but I did bring the minimum up for each increasing stage. Having played it, I think the settings are honestly good enough. It feels a little desperate as I climb, like I have to think ahead to exactly what eye I'm going to land on, or I won't have enough and I can fall in the lava. So the challenge definitely increases on the higher stages. I haven't fixed the eyeball floating speed bug yet, and at this point I'm hesitant to, since it might make the torch and mossy stages too hard. I think I'm just going to leave it in and see if anyone notices or says anything about it. It's now 8 hours before time is up, and having played what I made, I'm feeling a lot better about the jam. It is a solid update to the game. I tested a lot of new ideas that actually seem to pan out more or less how I imagined, and I can foresee some really fun future updates that I will do. Oh, and before I forget, here's the new lava sizzle sound. Alright, I think it's time to build the game, write some patch notes, and submit it to the jam. As a player of games, this is definitely an exciting amount of patch notes. I'll leave the link to the game in the description for anyone who wants to play it. Feel free to go and leave me feedback on the game's page, because it might just make it into a future update. I hope you enjoyed, and thanks so much for watching.